It's that time of the year again. No, I'm not talking about Santa, you mouth-breathing mutt. I'm talking about the pinnacle of esports, baby. A Counter-Strike major. With the CS Pro scene at its peak, in terms of its most competitive year Counter-Strike has had, for HLTV's #1 spot. The player base nearing its all-time peak essentially, and with the audience thriving as good as it is, I have no doubt that this major is about to be absolute cinema.
Together another, and as Carrigan moves in.
Well, I guess winning was just a phase. Nah, can we be real? This roster's almost done. I know they were in the finals of last major, but come on. Since I am Chengdu, this roster struggled to make it past a 5th to 8th placement. And keep in mind, they came into 2024 as the #1 ranked team in the world. But they certainly aren't leaving as it. As far as I'm concerned, the only player on this roster with star power left in him is Frozen. Carrigan, the GOAT IGL, undoubtedly, has always been a package deal. But that deal is becoming less like a deal and more like a fucking chore. But that's why, without the individual talent around him to make up for that lackluster performance, let's say, the brain doesn't really matter. Which brings me into the rest of the roster. Broky's consistent form has been slipping away slowly since Copenhagen, and his last 2 events are certainly not what you want from your opper, let alone as a top 10 team trying to be a major contender here. Rain statistically over the last 6 months has been kinda ass. Yeah, he had a good RMR, but will that be the case for the major? Probably not. Hey, Robs is starting to find some consistency again. But let's not act like it's CSGO Robs that can carry FaZe on its back. Come on. While you get glimpses of form and great performances from these players, they're never consistent. FaZe might make it past the elimination stage, but I doubt it. This major is this roster's last chance.
Look at us. Hey, look at us.
Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
God, you're so right, Paulie. Who would have thought these Frenchies would have made it to the fucking elim stage through the RMR? With G2, Spirit, Heroic, VP, Eternal Fire. The first all-French roster to qualify for a major since Simple's crowning at Stockholm. And they didn't just qualify, they finished first after coming back against G2. Then 11-8, Map 3 decided for who makes it to the major. The coach calls a timeout. And you know, I actually have the audio recording of this team during the timeout, which is making its debut on my channel. Roll it.
This is G2 guys. They can't close shit.
We.
And they proceed to bend G2 over and give them a suffice wienering. If this 3D Max shows up again, I think they give FaZe a run for their money making it to the playoffs. Might make it to quarters. And if they do make it to playoffs, hell no they ain't making it any further than quarters. And that's dreaming big.
James is trying to sell his life so that Simon can succeed, and that is exactly what Simon will do. It's a couple of kills, makes up 4, and Simon just shuts down the entire setup. Simon's first.
The Golden Hornets. Hate him or love him. A consistent top 3 team for the last, like, what, year and a half? Not counting dips at number 6 and 7, because they only lasted for 2 weeks. This monster of a team has a consistent, good team of riflers, an IGL with Asperger's, and the chosen one, Zebu, the only man on earth that you could put in a GOAT conversation against Simple. One of the 3 players racing for that Player of the Year spot of 2024. He has 2 #2 rankings and 3 #1 rankings, one of them being literally just last year. Currently tied with Simple at 3 Player of the Year titles. Though this might be your first year at the top 2, Zyra. So you better make it far into the major or else these smooth-brained dogs are going to start yelling at you that you're washed. Vitality is at least making it to semis, assuming Apex doesn't flood the stage, breaking all the setups and equipment.
Spare change. Spare change, ma'am. Squidward? Squidward, is that you?
You know, Nerds has pretty much been the only player on this team that you can look at to do some heavy lifting. Let's be honest. And you know, actually, while I'm editing this, HLTV is telling me that he's Player of the Week from the RMR. Wait, you're telling me their only LAN achievement this year was a semis placement at IEM Rio? As a top 10 team? Wait, the last trophy they held was in June 11th, 2023?
Oh, hell no, man.
I guess you can say Nerds at least put in a heroic effort. For real though, Tessus is the only other person on this team that you can even look at to do something. Not expecting much out of these guys, to be honest. They're getting their ass tossed out in fucking elims, just like Copenhagen.
You'd like to see my apartment?
I'm not supposed to.
Do you want to come to my apartment or not?
I'm not supposed to, but I can make an exception.
The major merchants of the CS scene. The only thing these guys know how to do is get to a major and sell players that could actually bring them any hopes of winning it. Next. Alright, let's cleanse the palate of doo-doo dog shit. Ranked number 5 in the world right now, MOUZ. MOUZ has had a pretty good year so far. Won ESL Pro League Season 19 against Vitality. They won Bet Boom against Spirit with an event MVP from Donk. Not to mention making it to semis at IEM Katowice, the first World Cup, and IEM Cologne. On top of that, finals at Chengdu and Rio. You know, it's hard to hate on this team. Cerbrolin's been pretty fucking ass over the year, I ain't gonna lie. Top 5 team with no top 5 opper. Hell no, he ain't top 10. Maybe I'm reaching, but listen, I could go drive 20 miles off a flask of vodka and you wouldn't see me be one of those bad crashers. You put on a Torzy clip, the run's dead. GG. This guy's boring as fuck. Where's the X Factor at? Now let's get to the meat and potatoes of this roster. Exertion, 2024 rating of 1.13, you know, pretty good. GymFat, 1.12, that's pretty good. Ooh, these guys know how to frag. Exertion, the multi-kill goblin. Jimmy, Giga Chad, such a munch and a clunch, he'd have Ice Spice shaking her ass in the fight or flight. And last but not least, the IGL prodigy, the next Kerrigan, Sid the Sloth if he knew how to mute. Shui, baby. One of the best IGLs in the world for both his brain and individual skill. I mean, he ain't no fragger, but like for a guy about the brain, he got hands. I'd be shocked if this team ain't there for the quarterfinals. Then again, crazier things have happened.
Betrays Carrigan, the AWP dispatches of him, and look, do it! That's disgusting! Revolting from Donk!
I mean, do we even have to talk about anybody on this roster other than Donk? Donk's expectations are so high it almost touched Chopper's hairline. I'm sorry, I thought of it and I had to say it. This guy ties Nico's all-time record of a 1.7 HLTV rating at a big event. And the only time we've seen a crack in the armor was at Cologne earlier this year. Which, by the way, it took 5 minutes into that tournament for the washed allegations to start. At 17 is crazy. But that would only last one event, as Donk would go on to destroy everybody in his way for the rest of the year. Currently the best player statistically of 2024. With numbers so big you would have thought your sister stepped on the scale. Everybody knows he is top 2 in the world, like undoubtedly. There's no one even competing against that. Most people would say he's undoubtedly the best in the world, like number 1. But I have someone else in mind for that. There's not much to say other than that this kid's a monster, or I should say the monster. Shiro's been great, 1.19. He's had a bad tournament or two, but that's it. Zontic still hasn't learned about the human brain in biology class, but at least he's been semi-consistent, so we should be happy with that. Though every picture you see of him would make you believe he should be on SSRIs. Chopper's fucking ass. But hey, he makes pretty good calls. That's his job. Magix looks and performs like pre-time skit Kobe from One Piece. That's all I'm gonna say. Studies say that roughly 0.5% of the world's population might be related to Genghis Khan. But I got 5 of them right here. As of recording this video, the MongolZ are on a 12-game win streak, going 3-0 in the opening stage of the major. You know the last team to beat these guys as of December 5th was the Drillas? These guys are a top 10 team with an average player age of 20, which is kind of crazy for a top 10 team. They brought home a trophy at Yala Compass, beating some respectable fucking names if you ask me. FURIA, Astralis, Complexity, Eternal Fire. At this event is where 910 scored his first MVP medal, not to mention how Zenzu has been stomping opponents all year, likely landing him his first top 20 HLTV spot in his career. As well, there isn't a single player on this team with a 2024 HLTV rating lower than 1.05. Not to mention that 4 out of the 8 best players in the opening stage of the major were the players from MongolZ, like 4 of them. This is Asia's best and only chance of taking home the major. You'll see these guys in playoffs.
I'm going to say it right here, right now. The greatest
Counter-Strike team
ever is fucking
NAVI.
The entire CS scene has its eyes locked in on NAVI. Fan or not, can they defend their title? Is it a NAVI era? Are they really the best team in the world? All will be answered in Shanghai. They're the number 1 HLTV ranked team in the world, and most people with a brain would also tell you that they're the best. Unless you're Valve. But we don't talk to him, okay? Come on. A team with no clear star player, just a team of 5 chill guys, all with their powerful strengths. After winning the major, they would go on to compete in 6, yes 6, back-to-back grand finals, winning half of them, and then they go to finish dead last at Blast World Final. Yeah, they had a pretty rough time. JL's performance at this event had the chat spamming JL loser, JL bot, JL throwing, JL fraud. Poor JL probably can't have kids after all the backflips chat did on it. But speaking of bouncing, he bounced back hard at the RMR. The 1.29 overall rating, even higher impact rating. Fucking, oh, that's what we like to see. His overall stats this year have been great, and this doesn't even do him justice for how much impact he has had on the team winning the last major and the event since. As long as he has a decent performance at Shanghai, he is 100% getting a top 5 spot in HLTV's top 20 list this year. And you know sayings like, there's no I in team? Yeah, well, at the last major, there was no im in him, okay? These are Ime's stats at the last major in Copenhagen that they won, by the way. And he did worse than Kerrigan. How is that even possible? And listen, I'm a NAVI fan if you couldn't already tell, but this is fucking hilarious. Though it looks like he's coming back to that old Ema everyone loved. And that's what Navi's gonna need if they want to win back-to-back majors, becoming the 2-time CS. Alright, not like that. Bit is just good. He might get a top 20 spot. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. He's been doing amazing all year. And you know, Alexi B has those IGL hands where they only touch red. But like, his team's winning more than any other team in the world. Does it matter? No, they're winning. And then you have Wonderful, having to fill the role of the greatest Counter-Strike player of all time at only 19 years old, keep in mind. And he kind of has that same energy as JL, where the stats don't really speak on just how much impact he really has. I know HLTV says he has less impact than like his overall rating, but come on, he's nasty. All of this combined with the best coach in CS history. Now listen, I don't want to say that the major is scripted in any way, shape, or form. But I read the script. Navi's winning it. My next right here, Valve. Take it, take it, take it.
Hey, can I get $1? Just give me $1. That's all I need. All I need is $1. Can I get $1, please?
The only person keeping their hopes and dreams of this team becoming the best Brazil has to offer is Snow. God, I love this kid. Brazil's newest young top talent at only 17 years old, Snow. Been doing alright. He's kind of chilling. You know, it's his first year in Tier 1, and he's not doing bad at all. He's doing pretty decent, actually. Better than some people that won multiple majors. Been playing this game for, like, twice as long. But even not being the best they have to offer right now, he's not the flashiest, but God, he's so much fun to watch. He's so energetic and with his personality. And at 17 years old, you can tell this kid has a lot of potential. He is easily the most entertaining player to come out of Brazil in a long time. And I don't care if there's better Brazil players than him. As far as I'm concerned, he's the future of Brazilian Counter-Strike. Unfortunately, though, they're getting their ass knocked out in elims as it stands. But speaking of pain...
Very quickly, I want to touch on the fact that is this now a worrying sign because you're staying in Singapore before going into your RMR?
No, it should be. I mean, now we have even more fucking time after getting knocked out in another event.
America's best hope, or should I say, Canada's, at getting close to the major trophy. Can anybody help this poor Canadian man? Undoubtedly the greatest Canadian to touch Counter-Strike, Twist is currently the definition of if you want something done right, do it yourself. Bro is the fragger and IGL, guaranteed to make another top 20 spot from this year, and he's making great calls as an IGL. I mean, I'd hope so. He was on a team with the GOAT, Kerrigan. You'd hope he learned something. But that doesn't seem to matter when you've got Nafly somehow looking more depressed than Zontix. And you can understand why, because he's getting his ass carried at the fucking major so far. And even when he was doing good, his team still can't win shit. But let's talk about the official cheerleader for Liquid. Remember when Yakindar was a top 20 player? A top 10 player? Yeah, good luck with that. Imagine going from Kyrie Irving to the IG model he knocked up. This shit is sad. His face is so close to the monitor, you'd think he was a gynecologist in the past life. They say he can smell pixels. They say he actually just loves his monitor, and he's just giving it an Eskimo kiss. Yeah, no, that's enough of that. Yakindar, yeah, you're probably washed, I'll be honest. You're... yikes. Ultimate joined Tier 1 on Liquid and had an amazing start of the year, but then he had a rough patch once people figured him out. But it looks like he's getting back to that Ultimate that we all know and love. The one that can hit shots, the one that can make plays. We love to see it. JKS came back from a 10-month break after being dropped from G2 and is still performing better than some players on this team. Not to name names. God, he's so sexy. As it stands, FURIA is the best Brazil has to offer, currently the number 8 ranked team in the world. Their biggest accomplishment this year so far, besides making it to the majors, is a semis performance at IEM Rio. Queserado by far is the star player on this team, but individually this year has been a little disappointing for him, and it's probably going to be his first year out of the top 20. Yura's been okay over the year. Meanwhile, Skull's stats this year are ass, and they're only inflated by his great start of the year. Yikes. And don't even get me started on falling. Bro's falling off. Yeah, you're a legend, but get that ass in the Hall of Fame. It's GG's. And Cello can, I don't know, get better. At their peak, this team is maybe 8th, but this team made top 10 Counter-Strike.
Mom, can you give me some money, please? Mom, can you give me some money, please? Stop fucking around!
America's second last hope. But if we being for real, they ain't making it any further. These guys are already exceeding everyone's expectations, including their own. And by the way, I'm sure we have no idea how hard they've worked to get here. But me and everyone else got these fuckers going 0-3 in elims. It's nothing against them, it's just the competition's better. And unfortunately, I don't think Amaranth is supplementing bathwater to the players as a performance-enhancing drug. The players are decent, and yeah, they're in Tier 1 CS, but they ain't a top 20 team. It's Jover. But if you're one of the people crying about Amaranth owning this org and involving yourself in the scene, you're a joke. If you think her involving yourself in CS and a gaming org is bad for the CS community and the org in general, you need to duct tape that mouth and start repairing that underbite. Everybody knows there's no money in owning an org, and she has 100 times the clout of any org or pro. To be honest, we should be thanking her for the clout and financial support that she is bringing to the CS community.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
Someone save my mans. Let's not act like Dasani shouldn't be on a top 10 team. Luca is close to deserving a top 10 team. But without these guys on MIBR, this team drops 10 placement points in the fucking rankings. You'll see these guys out in elims. Womp womp. They're just happy to be at the major. The last major for these guys was at Rio 2 years ago. I'm sure they're even loving the losses. The best German team in the world. This top 20 team is not really a top 20 team. Did you know that these guys have a 0% win rate in a 4v5? Can't prove it. Heard a commentator say it. I don't need the evidence. I believe it. The only player with a top 20 HLTV year is Searson. And that shit was 4 years ago, dog. Hell nah, he ain't getting that shit back. It's really funny too how he was on big for 4 years, got kicked, and then got brought back. You know, they say getting back with your ex is optimal for having a partner that you can manipulate and control. But looks like nobody's controlling this guy, because that shit ain't doing good at all. JDC is statistically their best player and has the highest firepower on this team, and that shit only 74, and a rating of 1.08. Crimbo is right there with him pretty much. Aside from JDC and Crimbo, this roster needs to pack their bags, unless they want to keep getting farmed by the big dogs.
What top 5 you smoking on?
MongolZ.
Cause my top 5 is
G2, 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 G2.
They stop Madison in his tracks, and the Mongols keep up.
Oh, we got a lot to talk about with this team. The last dance of this roster. You know, let's just get the appetizers out of the way. Snacks has been on the team for 6 months and has already gotten them 2 trophies, while it took Hooksy years to just get 3. Snacks is way more accomplished if we're talking about achievements both in a team setting and individually. At first I wasn't too sure about this, but it turned out to be a decent improvement for the roster. Now, this is where I started to get fucking annoyed, because for a guy named Hunter, he spent most of the time this year being the fucking prey. Bro, you've been ranked 13 or 12 in the top 20 list for the past 4 years in a row, and now you ain't even breaking top 50, dog. The only time Hunter hears NT is when the dyslexic kid commentates his games. The same blood that runs in Nico's veins runs in this guy? Shit, not anymore. And hey, if you know, you know. But don't worry, they picked up MOUZ MD from M80. To be honest, not trying to be a dick, I had to look up who G2 booted off the team to get him on. Sorry, Nexa, just being real. Since playing on M80, the Counter-Strike world has been calling him the NA Donk, and the stats and raw aim support it. While yes, MOUZ's stats this year are partially inflated from his time on M80, he has still been putting up great stats since competing on the number 2 ranked team in the world. He's only 22 years old, and with a firepower of 94, I have no doubt as long as he keeps this up, he should be on G2 for another few years at least. The Saudi princes are calling, Nico. Your time's almost up, man. Which is honestly just a huge shame. Nico's had a great year. Another top 20 spot secured, but doesn't matter. Because the CEO of G2 said they could have kept him if they wanted to. But if you ask me, I don't believe that for a second. I just think they couldn't offer what the Oil Kings could. But even still, why is he going there? Like, I mean, come on. You're towards the end of your career and you're choosing the bag over a major. Let's not forget, you still don't have that trophy. And there ain't no way in hell the Falcons is going to give you that. Plus, MongolZ is still going to be on G2 as far as we know. And come on, this duo is more iconic than the steering wheel with a gold one. You want to break that apart? Though MongolZ seems to be hopeful about the future, so who knows? One thing I do know for sure is that MongolZ secured a top 3 spot this year. At the very least, number 3. Personally, I got him as number 1. This kid is so full of talent. I mean, I wish there was more to hate about G2, but when you get to MongolZ, the glazing must commence. He is single-handedly responsible for any of G2's trophies this year. I am Dallas. Last fall final. Last world final. This kid is the baby goat. I don't care. Next simple. Don't care. G2 winning this major all depends on if MongolZ's star power can shine through the shadow looming over G2 called fucking throwing.
For the ones once left behind.
Of the would-be NAVI era. They are out.